agency. And before that, I worked as an associate product development manager for what used to be DirecTV headquarters, where I helped manage the rollout of new products and applications in Latin America. So on behalf of the entire Arrowhead team, we want to thank you so much for joining our webinar today. We hope to provide you with some valuable content and information that you can immediately apply to your online transition efforts, especially as your business or business idea adapts to the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is the first of a series of free webinars that you can register to attend, which will delve into marketing your business online. Before we start, I just want to take a quick moment to explain what Arrowhead Center is and why we started this webinar project. So Arrowhead Center is the Entrepreneurial Development Center for New Mexico State University. We are the IP and Tech Transfer Office for NMSU, and we run several external facing programs that provide business assistance and development to New Mexico-based businesses. Many of those programs come in the form of multi-week accelerator courses that explore value propositions and customer discovery. We recently launched updated curriculum to our renowned Biz Sprint Accelerator program to include information about marketing your business online, all as a response to COVID-19. And we had a high volume of applications and lots of feedback that told us we needed to share this content and make it available to all businesses in New Mexico. So we decided to launch this free webinar series to cover that highly requested content. So today we're going to talk about how to identify your target audience, where they are, and how to reach them. Then we'll talk about how to leverage insights from your competition and identify your uniqueness. We'll go over next steps, including our next webinar sessions that will drill down on important digital marketing topics. And then we'll address some of the questions submitted through the question form that was sent to you through registration confirmation when you signed up for this webinar on Eventbrite. If you did not get a chance to submit a question, or if you have a question that comes up during the session, please submit your questions via the Zoom chat function. Our technology coordinator, Param, will be collecting those questions and will be addressing them towards the last half of this webinar session. If we did not get to your question today, we will be publishing a more comprehensive Q&A document on the digital marketing webinar page of the Arrowhead Center website. That's on the slide right now. It's arrowheadcenter.nmsu.edu/digital-marketing-webinar-series. And if you don't get a chance to jot that down, we'll be sending out a follow-up email after the session with a link to the page for those of you that registered. And if you didn't register but somehow were able to get on today, I'll include my contact details at the end of my presentation, and you can send any inquiries there. All right, so let's get started. There's a series of questions that are important to ask yourself as you think about transitioning your business online. Some of you may have established businesses and have thought this through extensively. Others may be starting to start from scratch with a new business idea inspired by the needs you've seen surface from COVID-19. But in either scenario, it's essential to ask these questions through the lens or scope of potential online customers. The first question is, why do or will customers buy your product or service online? And the sub-question to that, what pain points does what you offer resolve or improve those pain points for those online customers? So here's an example. At the beginning of this COVID-19, the state shut down, and there were a lot of products and groceries that went out of sale, right? The demand went up, and they were scarce. And so one of the products for us that we had trouble finding were eggs. We would place our online order through a big box retailer for pickup. And then we'd show up and no eggs. Some of the items got replaced, some of them didn't. So then we'd have to go to a different grocery store and try to find eggs, but I'd have to physically go in. And sometimes we didn't have any luck there either. So I went on my good friend Google and began my quest to find eggs through a few searches like eggs delivered to Las Cruces, New Mexico, and grocery delivery Las Cruces, until I found a local farm, and by local I do mean within the state, that delivered groceries fresh off the farm throughout the state of New Mexico, including my home base in Las Cruces. Now, under normal circumstances, I am not the target customer for this farm. When I shop for my groceries, I look at proximity, convenience, and price in that order. And I honestly never really searched for farm fresh foods because I know that my local grocery stores carry products from local farms. And that was good enough for me. And if that's the value sell, which in this case for this farm fresh delivery service it was, and you don't care about that, you're probably never going to seek them out online or pay extra, which is what I had to be willing to do to get my eggs in this scenario. But they had this secondary value to them. They offered delivery to your home and high supply of inventory. And that turned me into a customer. What's more, a repeat customer. I don't buy all my groceries there now, but because of the situation with COVID-19, I'll purchase some eggs and produce because I feel more comfortable with their internal team handling my produce than getting produce from a big box retailer where it's out in the open and several people can pick it up and put it down, etc. So that's how their secondary value became relevant during COVID-19 and reached a new audience that wasn't there before. So by the way, I called the customer service line with a few questions and asking about my order. And then I also asked out of curiosity, if there was an influx of more orders, because I figured I probably wasn't the only person with that train of thought. And they told me their sales actually tripled within 2 weeks. That farm was already set up to meet my needs by accident, right? They had this built-in customer base. They didn't predict COVID-19 and that happened to work out. But their setup is a great example of the type of vehicles through which businesses can address some pain points people have, especially new pain points that have arisen through COVID-19. So that's a good transition into the next question to ask yourself. How will people online access my product or service in this virtual space? To answer, you're probably going to be looking at 4 overarching groups of target audiences or potential target audiences. A quick note is that the expectation for this is that you drill down further into these, but it's a good starting point. As you transition to online spaces, you'll have existing customers that are learning how to access your offerings now in a new way. These are people who may normally shop at your brick and mortar. And for those of you that are about to launch a business online, period, and have never had a brick and mortar, this may look more like a subgroup of the 4th bucket we'll discuss in a little bit. But anyway, these are people that may not be used to shopping online for the type of product or service you sell in an online format. Maybe they're not used to shopping online at all. And there's a group of people, and then there's a group of people that are existing customers who are comfortable with technology. They already shop online, but they didn't have access to you and your offerings in this format before, and now they find a more convenient way to get to you. Next are potential customers that are coming to you because of a new need they have, and I'm the perfect example for that farm, fresh off the farm delivery grocer, right? I now became part of their customer base. And lastly, there are new potential customers that found you because you happen to exist in their space. We'll certainly delve into this in one of our subsequent webinars in the series, but a good example of this would be people on social media that find you because they're on the platform more, right? People are at home, they might not be working as much, they have more time to search through their social media, and you targeted them through a social media ad. These are people that find your product or service valuable in some way and just heard about you because they met your ad. So as you start to get specific about who is interested and finds value in your offering, you'll be able to identify features that are crucial to incorporate in the online experience you're creating for your e-customers and discover what to highlight in your communications. You'll want to plan to explore how to best present information about your business to them online. And we'll get into more detail about setting up your website and tracking behavior on the back end of your site later in the series. But for now, think about what kind of information might be most important to get to first when a potential e-customer lands on your homepage. This usually presents itself as, and will help you identify, your unique differentiator, or what we like to call your competitive advantage. There are lots of articles you'll find online on common shopping behaviors for baby boomers, Gen Xers, millennials, and the newest, Gen Z. And secondary research is a great place to start, but even better would be to do some virtual interviewing yourself. A sample size of 15 isn't large, but it's a short-term accomplishable milestone that you can work towards to get some feedback on what your target wants in a solution for the pain point you're trying to resolve with your product or service. Make calls to existing customers, people you suspect might be potential customers, and competitors to gain insights. You can research different websites and social media pages that organize information differently from each other and create polls on social media that ask people which are their favorites. Find out why, and use those insights as you're planning out your online spaces, be it a website or social media pages. But through this interviewing process, you will be able to identify whether the people you suspect are your target audience actually find value in what you're offering and what they might value online, or maybe you find out these people don't and they're not your target audience. And then you start to interview more people and you find out who your target audience is and what they care about. And so I really encourage you to take some time to conduct some of those interviews, reach out and find some firsthand insights before you start to plan your online experience that you're creating. So how do you leverage these audiences, right? Let's say you've done your interviews, you figured out maybe who these people are. Once you drill down into those audiences, the next step is to plan to create an online experience to match them. Like in brick and mortar formats, the experience you create online should first build trust. People that are now buying online or new to buying online and people that don't know your brand are still getting comfortable with accessing your products, services, or content. They can often come into their online interaction with your cyberspaces skeptical because they've all experienced an online order mishap or heard of someone like the people in these pictures who did not get what they expected. For example, I personally buy a lot of my items online. I buy my favorite Japanese snacks, my shampoo and conditioner, technology products, but I'm someone who still feels a little apprehensive about purchasing clothes online, especially from a store I've never physically gone into. Because I ask myself, do their sizes run large or small? Is the picture of that blue sweater true to color, or will it wash me out? And so to respond to these insecurities, you want to make sure your audiences feel confident that you're an expert in your field, especially those of you that offer services online, that you sell quality products, and that those products are described accurately and thoroughly on your website. And lastly, that you are accessible to resolve any potential issue that might come up during the buying process or during an online scheduling process, say for those that have services. So here's an example of an online clothing retailer called Stitch Fix. Stitch Fix uses clear, concise messaging on their website homepage to build trust with shoppers who are new to shopping for clothes online and online shoppers who are new to the Stitch Fix brand. They immediately point out their unique offering, which is customization, and then they go right into reassuring potential customers that you can send back what you don't want, that there is a simple return and exchange policy, and they even went so far as to highlight that there are no subscriptions required because they don't want new potential customers to feel burdened by the commitment of purchasing something they haven't yet tried. Granted, there are several well-positioned subscription model businesses that do promote subscription options, but this is one facet that this company chose to utilize to make new potential customers confident about trying their products in an online space. By the way, in order to begin engaging with this company, you take a style quiz during which you provide your specific measurements, which can make potential customers feel like they are very likely to receive something that fits. So for yourself, think about how you're going to build trust with your potential online target audience, right? Your potential customers through several online platforms. If you're selling a product or service online, do you have a return policy or service guarantee for e-orders or for e-appointments and scheduling? What does the user's process for interacting with you in an online space look like? So in that same train of thought for creating an online experience for your target audience, have you ever been to a website or a social media page and what you're trying to find is not available immediately? So you leave and look for a page that makes it easy to navigate through information. I'm guilty of doing that, and a lot of people are. Most people behave that way now as they're going through their online options. I took this screenshot from a website called The Worst Website in the World Ever, or I think it's the world's worst website ever.com. Because it's such a great example of poor online presentation that turns people off. A messy repeated tile background and a variety of illegible text with clashing colors and dead links makes this site very cringeworthy. And it reminds us of things to keep in mind as we plan the online experiences we want to create for our target audience. Make your content easy to read with correct grammar and legible text. Remove obstacles and roadblocks that could prevent potential customers from accessing the information that's important to them. And what goes hand in hand with that is making your navigation easy to maneuver. So during our Launch Your Website webinar in this series, we'll delve into how to set up your website and things like that, but just start to think about at this time how you want to organize your information. So we touched on creating an online experience centered towards your target audience. But once you've planned that out, where do you reach your target audience? Here's just a quick list of common channels where people online might hang out. Your target audience might really only use 2 or 4 of these. But it's an example of what kinds of, this presents an example of what kinds of questions to ask those people as you're trying to figure out who your target audience is. Ask them where they are online. Ask them, what platforms they utilize, if any. Our social media webinar will also cover some common demographics that are associated with some of these channels. But your audience might be on review sites. They could be maybe on online newspapers or blog sites and all of these channels, but also They're accessing these channels via smartphones, laptops, desktops, tablets, and smart TVs, which have content channels with many ads. They use their voice assistants, which allow them to stream their favorite music channels with ads. And video game consoles that allow access to games and other apps that, you guessed it, may include ads. So there are these different platforms that you can take advantage of and that you should start to think as you're putting together your strategy for transitioning online, that you utilize these channels that are important to your audience. So now that we know where our audiences might be in the abyss that is cyberspace, how do you reach them? Right? There are several options. You can create quality content that speaks to your target's values on social media platforms. You can position your product or service with influencers that have your audience built into theirs. And you can launch your website and focus on your search engine optimization, which is a fancy term that translates to making yourself searchable online. You may also know it as SEO. You can also develop an app for your product or service and place it in app stores. You can reach out to other websites and online publishers and bloggers to see if you can get your products or services on their online spaces. You can pay for ads in pretty much any online space, which we just discussed. And you can also use text and email marketing as you start to build up your customer contact list and turn those customers into repeat customers. So there's lots of options out there for you. And as you start to put together your strategy, it'll become very clear which ones to focus on. So with many channels of communication come many competitors, and all the choices can feel overwhelming to reach your audience as a business, but also as your target customers to decide on potential services or products to engage with. You don't have to be everything to everyone. Strategically think about what your differentiator or competitive advantage is and define your uniqueness. You can start by researching businesses that are offering similar products or services to yours and see where they're placing themselves and what they're featuring as their unique differentiator or competitive advantage. Find out how you're different and capitalize. Start by creating a competitive analysis. Research industry trends for online marketing and placement. Then choose 3 or 4 of your top competitors and start comparing metrics. What social media sites are they on? How many followers do they have on each platform? What kind of content are they posting? Are people engaging with that content? Do they have interactions? Do they have an email sign-up form? If so, you should subscribe to that so you can get their email newsletters. How frequently are they sending those emails out? What kind of content are they repeatedly sharing? Do they have coupons, online sales? Do you find YouTube videos unboxing their products or reviewing their services? Do their ads follow you when you leave their website? Try visiting their online stores, add a product to the cart, and then just leave without buying anything. See if you're reached out to via an ad or email. We're going to be posting a competitive analysis template that you can utilize to help you through that process. And that'll be on the Arrowhead Digital Marketing Webinar Series page that I mentioned earlier. But feel free to research some other free templates out there to help you get going. Most importantly, what you need to do is figure out what you can offer, be it through an online experience that you create or features that your maybe competition doesn't have through your website or social media, or maybe through functionality of your service or product in the online space that's different from other brick and mortars, that makes people care about your product or service and choose you. I mean, that's what this process should really help you define: who it is that you're talking to, why they care, and then use those insights to create an online experience and a plan. So that brings us to our upcoming webinar session in the series that are going to provide a deep dive into some of what I talked to you about today. Next Friday, Arrowhead Center's creative director, Peter Knapp, will be hosting the Developing an Online Brand webinar. It'll build on insights that you might have discovered after attending today's webinar session and help you leverage your identified differentiator or competitive advantage and uniqueness to form your online brand identity. Justin Santiago, the Arrowhead Center's web developer, will host the next 2 webinars in our series, which include information on launching your website and social media marketing. So next steps, in addition to visiting our webinar series page, check out our resources page, arrowheadcenter.nmsu.edu/resources, to view new resources as they become available. Follow our social media pages where we post funding opportunities multiple times throughout the week, especially during the COVID-19 crisis. And check out our upcoming business accelerator programs at arrowheadcenter.nmsu.edu/sprints to see if you might be interested in participating in some upcoming courses that explore different industries. All right, so that concludes the presentation portion of this webinar. And at this time, I'd like to address any questions that have been submitted through the chat or through the form. So Param, can you please read out some questions that we've received?
So far, we haven't received any questions.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about what I talked about today or Arrowhead Center and the offering? If so, please just use the chat function on Zoom and go ahead and submit your question. It'll submit directly to our host and Param will read that back to me. So I'll give everybody just a quick minute to do that. Okay, so I just saw a question that came up from Tamara. She asked, will we receive a recording or slides of this? The answer is yes, we are recording the session. So we'll be publishing this session on that digital marketing page on the Arrowhead Center website, a link to it, so that you can watch it again if you want to go back and review anything. So we will have that, and we can certainly share some slides as well. Then I have another question from Jimena. Jimena asked, what concrete examples can you give us to create trust? So when you're, engaging online, I kind of talked about some of the apprehensions that people might have. So an example of a good way to create trust is just addressing some insecurities that you anticipate people have coming in by offering some kind of customer service around it in the online space. Maybe there's an automatic chat field that you can integrate into your website that can help people ask questions before they purchase. Like I mentioned with Stitch Fix, they had right there on the homepage exactly what the process is if you don't want to keep something that you haven't tried before. So that's a good example. If you're, for instance, providing services, let's say you're an accountant or something, a good way to establish trust is to provide blog posts on your website that you can share on social media platforms that talk about accounting, offer any tips or tricks or things like that, because what that does is it sets you up to look like an expert, which you are, but it shows it. So people automatically realize the person I'm about to interact with online knows what they're talking about. Look at all this content that they're producing on this topic. Clearly, I can trust them. So those are some examples of how you can start to build trust in this online space. Are we going to have some breakout sessions to talk with others about what we're learning? Yeah, so after I go through some questions here today, I know somebody was interested, they expressed in their registration form that they'd like to hear how other businesses are coping with COVID-19. And so at that point, I think we'll open it up to letting others chime in on that. If we have used social media in a personal or political way, how do you suggest handling your social media accounts before reaching out to potential customers? That's a really great question. I've had clients before that were in the real estate industry, right? And they had their personal pages, and then they had still under their name, they're using their personal pages to interact with potential customers, and that's a big no-no. It brings up a good point that you want to separate your business from your personal life. And so when you create, first of all, if you're going to be on any social media platform, create a business version of that page. I know for Facebook, you create a business page, not a personal page. And you're connected to that company, obviously, but you want to make sure that when you're posting on your personal profiles about anything while you have your business page, that you're careful about what you're posting, right? But let's say you already have stuff out there, and just try to hide some of the stuff from your timeline a little bit, especially if you're part of the head of the company or something like that. And keep that list of friends or followers that you have on those social media platforms to a minimum, to just your personal circle. Try to keep all customer engagement off of that business page. But that's a really great question, so thanks for asking that. Do you know if we have to ask permission to send SMS for advertising to each individual? That's a really great question. Yes. For any bulk marketing activities, let's say you're doing email newsletters or texting, you do have to have some kind of opt-in. And so for emails, that would be your sign-up form on your website. Make sure that your sign-up form expressly says that you will be using their information to send out notifications. If you're collecting phone numbers, make sure that there's, because you're planning to do text message marketing, make sure that you have a line that expresses that their phone numbers will be used for marketing purposes, in addition to whatever else you're using their numbers for. So you usually put that as a disclaimer before you have them fill out whatever form you have them do. And once you have that, then it's okay to upload into whatever platform you use to send out text marketing or email marketing. And you might also check with whatever platform you're using to see what their guidelines and policies are, because different platforms have different restrictions and requirements. So do your research when you start to engage with platforms that help you with text marketing or email marketing. Let's see. Okay, so I'm not seeing other questions in the chat yet, but we are tracking those. So in the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and call on a couple of you, and I just want to hear a little bit about you and your business, and just get a feel for what are some of the challenges that you're facing in terms of marketing online, and especially through COVID-19. So I'm just going to go in order here, and on my Brady Bunch screen, Tracy Hadley is up first. So Tracy, I'm going to try to unmute you here. If you could just share a little bit about your business and just, try to talk to us about what you're experiencing, that'd be great.
I am a realtor, and exactly what you were saying is so important, that the Facebook business page and personal pages. I'm to just see if I can learn more about that. I have been very timid in getting out there in the social atmosphere, so I kind of want it perfect before I do it, but that's, I don't care. So that's where I'm at.
Sure. And thanks for sharing, Tracy. And absolutely, you know, a lot of businesses that I've worked with in the past have been maybe apprehensive about switching to an online space because of privacy, and because they're afraid of that very thing. But you know, you have a lot of control options nowadays with the platforms that you can be on, and you know, I think as long as you start a new business page on whatever platform that you feel you want to be on, that should be okay. You know, you just separate your personal account from your business one, and try to keep the business stuff very relevant to whatever it is that your customers are coming to you for. And that's the best advice I could give on that. But thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, next I have Tamara Temple. Tamara, if you want to do the same thing and just share a little bit about your business and any challenges that you're seeing with COVID-19 for you.
So, hi everybody, I'm Tamara. I train, well actually work with people, the disabled people, and train service dogs and then reactive dogs. So I like to work very one-on-one. And I can't do that now. And I'm really camera shy, which is why I turned it on, because I'm trying to face, like, I need to make marketing videos. I need to, and you know, I've set up Zoom so I can actually do I can do the training, I can do what I need to do, but I'm good with marketing other people and talking them up, but myself, no. So it's really hard, and I don't know how to, you know, shoot video. I don't know how to do any of that by myself in isolation. So I reached out to somebody that produces videos, but oh my God, they're so good. It's probably outrageously expensive. And I'm just trying to find out how to do what I need to do. Some of the platforms you mentioned, I don't know what they are. My website doesn't collect emails like it should. So I heard of something called MailChimp, but maybe there's other things. I don't have any of that set up. So
Yeah.
I have a whole lot to do, and my brain just goes, oh my gosh, it's so vast. So whatever I learn from you, it'll help. Okay.
Good. Well, first of all, thanks so much for sharing your video. That's awesome that you've taken that step to be able to share with us. And I think a lot of people are feeling the way you are, you know, having to transition and into these online spaces, and there's a ton of options out there and all these things that you have to, or that you feel that you have to get on. I would say to answer your question about MailChimp, there's MailChimp. Constant Contact is also an option for email marketing. MailChimp is really great. I've used that a lot, and it's useful and user-friendly. And in terms of your training or your videos that you want to use to market online, that's great that you're using video content, and we'll get into that a lot more as we go into the series, but video actually performs really well against the algorithms that a lot of these social media platforms have. So it's good that you're moving your content in that direction. Although it's great to have well-produced videos, and you should do that as you build up and are able to do that. But in the meantime, if you set up, you know, a YouTube or a social media account, and you just use your smartphone, you know, you can get some pretty good content that way. It doesn't always have to be a high edited, you know, top tier. I mean, you should have that at some point, and it's good to have that, but to start out with, it's okay to do, you know, just a couple short videos that talks about some of the services that you have, and share that with people as you get more comfortable, right? Like slowly progress that way. That's okay to get started that way.
Okay. I had another question about that, but it's probably too, with training dogs or training animals, it's like I can't hold the cat. I can't demonstrate anything I'm trying to do. So that's a thing, but I'll do
Sure.
it.
Yeah, and sure, there's some like practical challenges of just running your business online.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe using an animal as an example, or a stuffed animal, and to just physically show what you're doing. You know, you kind of just have to get creative, and I think potential customers are understanding of that. So just try to get creative and do what you need to do to get it done. But I appreciate you know, the steps that you're taking, and that's great, and keep at it. So thanks for sharing. Okay, I have Kristen Worthington in my queue next. Kristen, can you share a little bit about your business and any challenges that you're experiencing?
The area, and we're trying to make our property pay for itself a little bit better, so we're putting in a shelling plant, and we're putting a commercial kitchen in so that we can create different items, unique items with the pecans. I have a bunch of different ideas to use, and I'm trying to use the marketing to get people excited about it. It's coming this summer, and so I'm trying to build the excitement, build it on social media, build it, you know, behind the scenes, that kind of thing. And there's just so many different ways to go for it, and trying to get that mission statement that that people want to try, you know, what we're offering. So that's kind of why I'm taking this, is to kind of get some more skills and trying to decide how to get everything to, so I've been using Instagram, I've been using Facebook, trying to figure out the hashtag things. I'm trying to figure out putting on my own videos, which I have been doing, trying to get more engagement, trying to figure out what is engaging people, what isn't engaging people. But getting those followers is really tough. It's like, I think I was under 100 a couple months ago. I got to 125, but that's just not going to get me anywhere. I've got to, you know, how to get that a little faster is what I'm trying to look for, how else to do it so that more people can see what I'm doing.
Sure. And as far as content, I'll revert back to what, you know, my presentation earlier when I talked about trying to just talk to a few people. And this isn't representative, like, right, of a big group of people. So you'll still have to continuously try to get insights from people, just kind of see what they're interested in, or what they most value in the industry that you work in. And then I also have Justin Santiago and Peter Knapp here from Arrowhead Center. I mentioned them earlier because they're going to lead the next couple webinar sessions. But I want to just invite them at this time if they have any feedback. If you guys have any feedback for Kristen or anything like that, can you guys share?
Sure. I have a couple. So as far as followers go and building followers, it's going to take some time, no matter what. It's not going to happen overnight. So just kind of be patient on that. There's one strategy I've heard that I like, and you can use to help build real followers. It's called the $1.80 rule. So what you do is, like, you know, you've heard the saying, you give your 2 cents on something, right? You know, so you go put your 2 cents in a conversation. So go find those hashtags, those people who are in your same space as you on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, whatever it is, and go add your 2 cents to these conversations. Just get your name out there, start contributing things, and give some value. You know, and not just like, you know, little, you know, fantastic, you know, whatever. Provide some value to these people and to the conversation. Provide some valuable insight that you have, and then by that way you slowly start to you become part of that conversation, and people will associate your name, your brand with that topic. And then you can slowly build that credibility, and then people will tend to go back to your page and look at it, and you start building followers that way.
Okay. So just like consistency.
Yes, just do it consistently, and like do it, you know, and like spend, like, I don't know, whatever time you have, you know, spend like an hour straight, 2 hours straight. Just apply to the, you know, 90 conversations, you know, as many as you can, you know. And just provide some feedback and get part of the conversation. Twitter is really good for this, same as Instagram. whatever, whatever one you're posting on, whichever one you're trying to focus on. And then if you have a following on a certain, say if you have a following on Facebook, but you're trying to build your Instagram, tell people on Facebook, it's okay, it would mean a lot to me if you go like me on Instagram. It's okay to ask your followers from one platform to go follow you on another platform.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that too. I think Justin has some really great points there. I think, especially right now, if you've been watching any TV or any of the ads, there's so much, so many advertisements are based on being genuine and being compassionate and kind. And I think setting that example and really, it seems like the companies are not really out for themselves right now. They're more about, hey, this is what we're doing, we're giving, and this and that. And I think that's really good, and it shows people are more likely to remember you, I think, for your kindness right now. So that's something to take into consideration during these crazy times. So however you can, I don't know, maybe you can start some kind of a campaign where you're trying to give to, different communities, or what can you do to help? And I mean, everybody's kind of stretched thin right now, but it's the little things. And I think people will take note of that.
Okay, cool. I'll try that.
Yeah, I want to jump on what Pete kind of piggyback off that. I completely agree with that. And it kind of goes into what Tamara was asking about too, and how you build. I think it was Tamara who was asking about the trust. How do you build trust? And then what Peter's saying, that being fully genuine and transparent is one of the great ways to build trust with your potential audience, just by being human, being transparent about who you are, what you do, your process, everything. That is a fantastic way to build trust. And then as what Pete was saying is like being genuinely kind, being genuinely compassionate to people is, I think, a great way to build trust. And so I think that is one of the biggest things to do that. And so and they can't, like I said, I was Peter saying, everybody is stretched in, so maybe you can't, give a donation or something. Maybe you can teach somebody how to do something through a blog post or a video or something like that. Just kind of give something away for free. And that's also another way to get people back to you on social media, because you always want to kind of give before you ask for something.
Yeah.
Thanks, and Justin. I think that's really great feedback. Okay, next on my little Brady Bunch screen is Brian Broyles. Brian, if you'd like to share a little bit about your business and any challenges, that'd be great.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I'm looking to start a business. I graduated in 1984 from New Mexico State, and I'm in the Boston, Massachusetts area. So I've been thinking a long time about how to promote New Mexico products up here, because I thought I could do something unique. So because I recently furloughed from my company, I've been putting more effort into it. So one thing I would mention to people there that are, if you have New Mexico products, I've been looking at the New Mexico True and manufactured New Mexico labels, and then buying that stuff, because I'm trying to figure out what I might find that's unique that I could bring up here. And I obviously want to, if you have those labels, then people know it's New Mexico connection, I guess.
Great, thanks, Brian. Yeah, and I'm sure that everybody here might benefit from giving you a chat. So I'm gonna unmute everybody for just a second, and if anybody wants to ask Brian any questions from what he just said, I invite you to do that now. Nope.
Talked about earlier, that pops up initially. You'll find a little bit more about what they're doing. You'll see a lot of people will probably forward COVID-19 as a keyword to try to bulletin. That a lot. And then
Okay.
make sure they have their assets listed as well, and any services that they offer.
Brian, you're looking for products to sell?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. Yeah, I was trying to find products that are connected to New Mexico, because I've always wanted to do so. I was actually thinking about doing a travel thing as well, but of course now people are going to be less likely to do airplanes. But yeah, I just always had this passion for New Mexico, and every time I meet somebody that's traveled to New Mexico, they're all talking about they love to retire there. They love it there. So,
Well, one thing that's been coming up with, I'm in Truth or Consequences, and we have a kind of a great little film and group of people, artists and things, and they have asked me to, I do the dog work with reactive dogs too that have really stressed out lives, and we've got the hot springs. And so one thing I was starting to implement before COVID was bringing people in from California, people that can afford a little more than people in TRC can, coming in for retreats, get their dog training and a relaxation for the dog, for them too. But we have all kinds of tourists coming to heal themselves, but nothing for the animals. And so I really was going off in that direction when this all started. But I don't know if you're talking about doing a tourism kind of thing, if that ties in, but if so, you can email me at dogmentors@gmail. And
okay, what is that? Dog? What?
dogmentors@gmail.com.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in anything because actually I actually was thinking about if I could find a way to help promote artists, because there's a lot of people here that have a lot of money. It's amazing. I look at when I was in New Mexico and what I paid for a house, and some of the places up here that aren't even in Boston, Newton, Wellesley, Weston, if you go look up the average price of a home, you'd be shocked. And there's homes for $4 and $5 million that routinely sell. And it's like, so I think there's definitely disposable income.
And that's the thing. If I was elsewhere, I'd be charging 4 or 5 times my rate, but I keep it really low because of where I am. But so bringing people in helps the community and the state gross receipts tax, all that. So that would be great. Send me an email, please.
Yeah, I'll try to do whatever I can to help you and see how it works out.
Thanks.
Hey, Brian, this is Kristen. I'm at the Arrowhead Center as well. And I would be happy to talk to you about some of our clients. We have quite a few people that we've worked with over the years who have product-based companies. And we've seen some models that have kind of looked to trying to engage markets outside of the state and kind of look to that tourism aspect of like, how do we get goods to New Mexicans who are no longer living in New Mexico?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd be happy to connect you with some of our clients and talk to you a little more about how you might explore this model and connecting with other vendors in the state. So you can email me at kmorehea@nmsu.edu, or you can give me a call later at 505-443-1827.
Okay, got both of them. Yeah, I'd be very excited to do that. Yeah, that's great.
Cool.
Awesome. And I included Kristen's email in the chat for everybody. So if you want to check out the chat, it'll have Kristen's email on that too. All right. So thank you, Brian and Tamara, for chiming in on that. We have a few minutes left. So Abby mentioned something. Abby, if you want to share, anything about your business and any challenges, we'd love to listen.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So I'm an executive director for an art center in Corrales, New Mexico, and I also do web development for a newspaper locally here. Doing a lot of stuff online, I've had to learn a lot more about techie stuff, so I usually just hang out with the IT people and ask them a lot of questions. Previously, having to do work with pediatric office, this came up far more than it did in the art world because of information being shared online. So having an HTTPS certificate, not the HTTP, on your website is important. It helps block people from hacking your site or viewing people that are coming to do transactions on your site, their information as they're typing it in. Also asking your web host about an SSL certificate to add the additional amount of protection there. So this is relevant if you are getting people to sign up for newsletters and they're giving you that information, they're using your website to log in, or they're doing transactions. It becomes irrelevant though if you're sending them to an outside service to do those transactions. That's why like PayPal is important, because they have all the certificates for PPI compliance, which is, you know, keeping you protected for credit card transaction, potential online fraud, things like that. So when you send someone outside of your website to do a transaction using a service like that, helps keep them protected. But if you send them to something that's an outside service that doesn't have those protections, it's no longer protected by your website's HTTPS or SL certificates. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So this,
thank you, Abby.
yeah,
That's really great. Thanks for mentioning that. And you might, we'll get into website, launching your website and some of those protocols that Abby's talking about, securing your site through your host and things like that. Justin, I saw you raised your hand. Did you want to add anything to that?
Yes, I was going to say that I was going to touch on that too, on the website, the website webinar that we'll be doing in a couple weeks with the SSL and then the security aspects. So we'll make sure we'll cover some of that aspects for everyone. That you do, like as Abby said, you definitely do want to have that SSL, because if you don't have that anymore, Google's kind of changed their algorithm. So if you just have an HTTP without the S on there, it'll oftentimes give you an error saying that you're going to an unsecured site or try to turn you away. So always, that's a good thing. I said we'll go more over that in the future, but I just wanted to chime in on that too. So.
Thanks, Justin. We probably have time for maybe just one more of sharing about your business and discussing any challenges you're facing. So I'll let you guys use the raise hand button. So first one to do that, we can unmute you and listen to what you're working with. Okay. Looks like we don't have any volunteers. So I'm just gonna pick, oh, Jimena. Jimena, would you like to share with us?
Hi, yeah. I just started a business. I grow gourmet mushrooms in La Mesa. So we are a very sustainable company. We grow based on pecan wood, and we are transforming that into mushrooms, which are, you know, very healthy. The way we have been affected is our main customer are restaurants, and of course, well, they're closed now. So we're focusing now on deliveries. We are delivering to Las Cruces and El Paso area. So we are taking orders, and of course, for that we need more presence. We do have a Facebook and an Instagram, and for website we have a landing page just to be present in that part. But yeah, that's how we've been affected.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Jimena. Peter or Justin, do you guys have any feedback to share with Jimena?
I think it's good that you have a website, and then and the social media. I guess I think the biggest thing is just to, you know, be consistent and just keep posting on social media. And if you have more information on your website, you know, to try to just develop and keep posting on that as well.
Yeah, Jimena, if you want to, feel free to send a link. You can send a link to me at pknapp at nmsu.edu. We'd be happy to take a look at it and give you some feedback if you'd like. That's what we're here for, right? We're all here to help each other. I know Justin's going to be giving a really great seminars in the upcoming, I believe it's after next week. So I would invite you to tune in for that. There's going to be a lot of good information shared there. So please join us for that. I think it should be really good. And then I'll be giving a branding seminar next week as well. So we'd love to have you join us.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. One of the things that it's been a little bit challenging for me is getting all the information in one place, because if I have let's say contacts through Instagram. I need to take orders through there, and then compiling everything to then, you know, put it on a map and things like that. So for sure, I don't know if you guys are going to be talking about how to add those features to our website, so you could, when people order through there, I don't have to, you know, to search for all that information. It can be in a chart or something like that.
Right, like a plugin or something that you're looking for that has everything.
Yeah, like something that includes address and probably can limit the amount of orders I can get or something like that.
Yeah, and there are several some plugins that you can add to your website that help you control those functionalities. And so maybe Justin might address sort of high level that stuff, but I did include Pete's email to everybody. So he mentioned that if you'd like to reach out, you can. So I included his email there too. And then I corrected Kristen's email because I realized that there's no D at the end of the name. So I added that as well. So if you guys want to just go into the group chat and copy any of those, that would be great. Okay, I'm also going to include Justin's. You have mine that I had in my presentation at the end. So if you guys want to just go in and copy those. But either way, I'm going to be sending out an email after this webinar that includes like links and contact information. So if you don't get a chance to jot down, you're still able to contact us. And I think that's all the time that we have for today, but I really encourage you to continue coming to these free webinar sessions. We'll be putting up the next event link on that page that we'll send an email for. So please register, please keep coming with your questions. We want to be a good resource for you to get help and to get some of those questions answered, or to be pointed in a direction to get some of that help. So that said, thank you everyone so much for joining today. We appreciate your time, and we hope to continue to engage with you. Have a great rest of your day.